Narcissistic abuse is a harrowing experience that leaves deep imprints on individuals. The behaviors of those affected often showcase a complexity stemming from the manipulation, control, and psychological trauma inflicted by narcissistic individuals. Understanding these behaviors is crucial to recognizing and addressing the aftermath of such abuse. Weird behaviors as a result of narcissistic abuse, hypervigilance, and constant alertness. One of the distinctive traits post-narcissistic abuse is a state of hypervigilance. Survivors develop an acute sensitivity to their surroundings, always on edge, anticipating threats even in benign situations. This constant alertness stems from the need for self-protection ingrained during the abusive relationship. Over-apologizing and self-doubt. Individuals impacted by narcissistic abuse tend to excessively apologize, even for minor issues, a behavior rooted in self-doubt cultivated by the abuser's constant criticism. The abuser's manipulation often leads victims to question their worth, causing them to seek constant reassurance and validation. Extreme sensitivity to criticism. Criticism becomes an excruciating experience for survivors of narcissistic abuse. They become hyperreactive to any form of critique, as it triggers memories of relentless belittlement and emotional attacks from the past. Constant need for validation. A compelling need for external validation arises due to the persistent invalidation experienced in the abusive relationship. Survivors seek constant reassurance and approval, struggling to trust their own judgments and decisions. Difficulty setting boundaries. Narcissistic abuse blurs boundaries, leaving survivors unsure about where to draw the line. They find it challenging to assert themselves or define their personal space, often allowing others to infringe upon their boundaries. Self-isolation and avoidance. Victims often retreat into isolation, either to protect themselves from potential harm or due to a fear of encountering similar toxic relationships. Social interactions become daunting, leading to a preference for solitude. Fluctuating self-esteem and self-worth. The fluctuating self-esteem of abuse survivors is a direct consequence of the abuser's manipulation. They swing between moments of feeling unworthy and periods of inflated self-importance, struggling to find stability in their self-worth. Projection of blame. Survivors may unknowingly project blame onto themselves or others, an ingrained response learned from the abuser's habit of shifting responsibility. This behavior perpetuates self-guilt and confusion. Lack of trust and paranoia. The betrayal experienced in a narcissistic relationship shatters trust, leading survivors to struggle with trusting others or their own judgment. Paranoia about people's intentions becomes a persistent companion. Fear of repeating patterns. Survivors live in constant fear of falling back into a similar abusive cycle, making it challenging to navigate new relationships or trust their instincts. Dissociation and numbing. Escapism through dissociation or numbing emotions becomes a coping mechanism. Survivors detach from their feelings to alleviate the overwhelming pain caused by the abuse. Struggles with decision-making. Indecisiveness plagues survivors as the abusive relationship often dictated every aspect of their lives. Making choices becomes daunting, fearing the consequences of wrong decisions. Dependency on others for identity. The shattered self-identity caused by narcissistic abuse leads survivors to seek validation and definition from others, struggling to form an independent sense of self. Inability to recognize manipulation. Despite having experienced manipulation, survivors might struggle to recognize similar patterns in new relationships, potentially falling back into toxic dynamics. Repeatedly seeking closure. Survivors often find themselves seeking closure from the abusive relationship, attempting to make sense of the trauma and seeking validation for their experiences. Recovery and healing. Seeking professional help. Recovery often involves seeking therapy or counseling to address the deep-seated wounds inflicted by narcissistic abuse. Professional guidance aids in navigating the complex emotions and behaviors. Building supportive networks. Forming connections with supportive individuals or groups who understand the dynamics of narcissistic abuse fosters a sense of belonging and validation. Self-care and self-compassion. Prioritizing self-care and practicing self-compassion is pivotal in healing. Recognizing one's worth and practicing self-love becomes a cornerstone in the journey towards recovery. Rebuilding self-confidence. Engaging in activities that boost self-esteem and confidence aids in reestablishing a positive self-image and reclaiming personal power. Establishing healthy boundaries. Learning to set and enforce healthy boundaries is crucial for preventing future instances of abuse and regaining a sense of control. Embracing personal growth. Viewing the experience as an opportunity for personal growth and learning helps survivors reframe their narratives and find strength in resilience. Learning from the experience. Reflecting on the ordeal and extracting lessons empowers survivors to identify red flags, nurture healthier relationships, and prevent reliving similar traumatic experiences. Narcissistic abuse leaves enduring marks on individuals, manifesting in peculiar behaviors and psychological wounds. Recognizing these behaviors is crucial in understanding the complexities of post-abuse struggles. However, recovery is possible through seeking support, self-care, and a commitment to personal growth.